On February 8, 2026, a single night when Ukraine struck targets across Russia that Moscow cannot easily replace. These losses are irreplaceable. Missile fuel burned in Redkino, oil depots ignited in Saratov, and power blackouts spread from Belgorod to Bryansk. Russia's military-industrial backbone shook, exposing air defense gaps the Kremlin never acknowledged. These defenses proved fragile. But what was truly lost? And why can't Putin recover from it? The answer changes this war. Bryansk, a region just north of Ukraine's border, reported widespread power outages on February 7th. The local governor posted on Telegram that 7 municipalities lost electricity after what he called enemy action. Each outage was mapped by open-source investigators, who cross-checked timestamps and local chat groups to confirm the locations. Analysts from Bellingcat traced the earliest images, flickers of distant fires and emergency sirens, back to a substation near Unecha. The metadata matched the governor's timeline, ruling out recycled footage. A day later, in Belgorod, the city's main power plant went offline. Regional officials acknowledged the incident, but gave no details. Telegram channels flooded with clips of a sudden blackout, and Bellingcat's mappers geolocated the skyline in several videos to the Luch thermal power plant. Power loss reports from Belgorod residents lined up with these findings, confirming a real-time disruption on February 8th. These two cases show the step-by-step process behind verifying strikes, from regional statements to raw cell phone clips to geographic cross-referencing. Each detail is checked, mapped, and time-stamped before it enters the record. Saratov sits far from Ukraine's border, deep in Russia's Volga region. On February 8th, emergency radio traffic in Kirov district spiked just after 2 a.m. Local dispatchers relayed reports of a fire at the Kirov oil depot, a facility known for supplying regional fuel reserves. Social media posts from Saratov residents described a sudden glow on the horizon, followed by columns of smoke. To verify these claims, imagery analysts turned to PlanetScope satellite passes from that morning. The data revealed a distinct thermal anomaly over the depot, matching the reported time of the incident. No fires appeared in the week before, ruling out routine flaring or maintenance. The thermal signature, combined with the emergency radio logs, confirmed a real event, an oil fire in Saratov's industrial heart. This strike stood out. Far beyond the border zone, it showed the reach of Ukrainian operations. The evidence from satellite and local sources left little doubt. The damage in Saratov was real, and it pushed the map of the conflict further east than before. Redkino, a quiet industrial settlement in Tver Oblast, rarely drew outside attention. That changed in the early hours of February 7th. SBU Alpha drones struck the Redkino experimental plant, a facility long associated with Dacilin M rocket fuel for Kh-55 and Kh-101 cruise missiles. Within minutes, local telegram channels lit up with reports of a fire and thick black smoke rising from the plant. Russian officials confirmed a UAV-related fire at 3:28 a.m., though they insisted production would continue. Yet outside claims told a different story. NASA's firm satellite fire detection system registered a new thermal hotspot over the plant's coordinates, evidence of active burning that matched the timeline of local reports. Analysts from the conflict intelligence team cross-referenced the firm's data with pre-strike commercial satellite imagery. The post-strike overlays revealed a clear scorch mark on the plant's roof, a signature absent in images from just days before. No debris field was visible from orbital passes, but the thermal anomaly and roof damage left little doubt. Redkino's missile fuel line had been hit. This evidence, verified across independent trackers and satellite feeds, locked in Redkino as the centerpiece of Ukraine's deep strike campaign. The forensic trail now pointed to the next step: what this damage meant for Russia's missile production. Inside the Redkino experimental plant, every stage of production is tailored for one purpose: creating Dacilin M, a specialized fuel blend for Russia's Kh-55 and Kh-101 cruise missiles. The formula relies on proprietary chemical additives, mixed under precise conditions that cannot be easily replicated elsewhere. Most of the world's refineries cannot handle these ingredients, and Russia's own supply chain depends on just a handful of facilities with the right expertise. Red Kino's chemists work with equipment imported before 2024, vacuum distillation columns, and catalytic reactors that are now blocked by Western sanctions. Each machine is calibrated for the exact boiling points and purity levels demanded by Desilin M's recipe. Since the latest round of sanctions, spare parts and replacement units have become nearly impossible to acquire. Even minor breakdowns force engineers to improvise with worn components or cannibalize old gear. This bottleneck means that any disruption at Red Kino cannot be patched over by simply shifting production to another site. The plant's unique chemistry and sanctioned machinery turn it into a true choke point for Russia's missile program. Satellite analysts pored over the Red Kino strike zone, searching for hard evidence of disruption. High-resolution imagery from commercial providers, including Maxar and PlanetScope, became the backbone of this forensic review. The most telling sign appeared in a post-strike pass from February 8th. A section of the plant's main roof showed a deep, irregular collapse spanning nearly 30 meters along the southern production hall. The geometry of the break matched the location of Desilin M reactors identified in pre-strike layouts. Thermal mapping data from Sentinel-3, collected within hours of the incident, registered a concentrated heat plume lingering over the impact site. The thermal anomaly stood out against the cold background, peaking above 400 Kelvin, well beyond routine industrial activity. No similar hotspots had appeared in the week before, ruling out maintenance or controlled flaring. These combined signatures, roof collapse, intense thermal spike, and a fresh scorch zone, pointed to a violent event that left the plant's core infrastructure exposed. Repair crews now faced not just fire damage, but structural instability across a critical section of the facility. The evidence left little doubt. Red Kino's production line had suffered a disabling blow. Inside a propellant plant like Red Kino, repairs are never quick. Each Desilin M reactor is custom-built, ordered in small batches from specialized manufacturers. Industry records show that sourcing a single replacement reactor under normal conditions requires at least 18 months. Western sanctions have only stretched that timeline, cutting off spare parts and forcing engineers to rely on equipment from before 2024. Even before this strike, maintenance crews struggled to keep the line running, sometimes scavenging from decommissioned units just to patch leaks or restore pressure. The 2025 fire at a similar chemical plant in Perm left that facility offline for nearly 2 years, despite Moscow's promises of rapid repairs. Pavel Podvig, an expert on Russian missile forces, has warned that outages at these plants cannot be fixed by shuffling production elsewhere. Each site handles unique formulations, and the loss of a single reactor can stall output across the entire missile program. With structural damage now cutting through Red Kino's production hall, the real risk is not just weeks of downtime. It is a multi-year gap that no quick fix can close. 6 Ukrainian drones crossed into Russian airspace, threading a gap of 450 kilometers between major radar installations. Their route skirted the edges of overlapping S-400 and Panzer coverage, slipping through a corridor long identified by open-source intelligence analysts as a blind spot. Russian Air Defense Command scrambled to locate the intruders, but by the time local stations picked up intermittent signals, the drones had already reached their targets. The pattern mirrored a previous breach at Kapustin Yar in January, when Ukrainian strikes bypassed layered defenses using similar low-altitude flight paths. Animated trajectory reconstructions from Molfar mapped the incursion in real time, showing how the drones exploited outdated radar arrays and inconsistent coverage along the Volga axis. Inside Russian command posts, intercepted chatter revealed confusion and delayed response orders. The exposed gap left a clear warning. Future sorties could follow the same invisible highway, turning a single night's success into a repeatable threat. Russia's missile campaign depends on a steady flow of specialized fuel, and every disruption ripples through launch schedules. In the week following the Red Kino attack, the Institute for the Study of War tracked a barrage of 2,000 drones and 616 missiles, numbers that reflect Russia's maximum output when supply lines hold. But analysts warn that even a single plant outage can trigger a measurable drop in launch tempo. Michael Kaufman, a leading voice on Russian military logistics, notes that bottlenecks in propellant supply can reduce sortie rates by as much as 30%, especially for cruise missile operations. Procurement records show that ordering replacement equipment for damaged reactors can stretch over 14 months, even without sanctions. Inside Tver Oblast, local officials have already appealed for emergency funding to restore damaged lines. The political fallout is immediate. Regional leaders scramble to reassure Moscow that production will recover, and military planners recalculate how many strikes they can sustain in the months ahead. Each new strike exposes the limits of Russia's defenses, shifting the balance in a war defined by technology and reach. As these vulnerabilities multiply, Moscow faces choices it cannot delay. The future of this conflict now hinges on how both sides adapt. Subscribe for more Frontline Insights.